Good morning, IPXers. We are at day 2. I think we're day 2, definitely day 2. Embedded World 2025. We're with Ali from Nordic.
First of all, I'm Ali Aljaani. I'm a developer marketing manager at Nordic Semiconductor, and today we're here at the Zephyr booth in Embedded World. We are actually a member of the Zephyr project, so we were one of the few companies who joined the project from the very beginning, and we're committed to the development and to the evolution of Zephyr. So we have engineers and developers that are actually in many of the technical steering committee of the project. Now you may ask me, what is the Zephyr project? Zephyr is trying to solve the problem that embedded developers are facing when they want to develop the product to market in a fast and a professional way, right? So they need to pull.
So why were they not able to do that in a fast and professional way beforehand?
Yeah, okay, so the other RTOSs available in the market, most of them, they kind of like provide you with the bare minimal functionality, and then you as a developer need to pull in the extra components you need. Things like middleware, libraries, testing framework, and so on. The methodology followed by Zephyr is that we bring everything needed by the developer to reach to market faster in a professional kind of like production ready environment, and basically enable them to build IoT products and embedded devices for today and for tomorrow in a very kind of like short and accelerated time. So what's kind of like separates Zephyr from other RTOSs in the market is actually the comprehensive ecosystem around it. So it's quite comprehensive.
So explain, so if I'm a design engineer and you just explained that the need for time to market and for functions and stuff like that, how do I commercially engage with Zephyr? What's the process by which I go about doing that and finding out about Zephyr? So because just like me, you might be, I know everybody's talking about Zephyr, so probably a lot of our community know about Zephyr already, so they're probably watching this video going, oh, we know about Zephyr, so why is he asking about Zephyr? But there'll be some that don't. So what's the engagement point that they start, because they're probably using other operating systems or thinking about other operating systems, and then this comes along?
Zephyr is actually an open source project. So it's available, it's governed by the Linux Foundation, and it's available as...
so its heritage is Linux?
Yeah, it's more like, not necessarily Linux, it's kind of like, you can think about it, it's Linux for embedded devices. So it's for constrained devices. It inherits a lot of things from Linux, like the configuration and build system. So it has some relationship, but it's more intended for embedded devices and mainly connected low power embedded devices. And what we do actually at Nordic is that we take Zephyr and we add more to it, and that's where we have the Connect SDK. So that's kind of like a specialized SDK for our Nordic hardware and our Nordic solutions. So we even bring more value to that by adding.
So what, in that relationship, what comes first, you or Zephyr?
Well,
where would a design engineer's starting point be? I mean, this is an amazing company.
Yeah.
You're able to do all sorts of low power things. What's the starting point? Would they start with Zephyr as an operating system and then go, right, who's going to be my hardware vendor? Or would they start, who's my hardware vendor? What do I do with the operating system? Just talk us through that relationship. What's the perfect, in your opinion, from Nordic Semiconductor, what's the perfect way that works?
Yeah, so the concepts that you kind of like need to know if you do vanilla Zephyr, that's not kind of like modified or there are new enhancement to it. The concepts to learn vanilla Zephyr and Connect SDK is basically the same, because it's relying, Connect SDK is relying on Zephyr as the core component. Though, but what we did in Nordic Semiconductor, we invested heavily in tools and educational resources to actually accelerate your onboarding. So we have created, so let's say you have a developer who is used to the conventional way of developing embedded system. Let's say they come from standalone or bare metal approach.
Yep.
They want to onboard with our SDK. We created, or Zephyr, we created an online learning platform called the Nordic Developer Academy, where we actually have self-paced, free online courses that developers can take and onboard themselves in a very short period of time on learning how to develop firmware for embedded devices. And
Yep.
we also have dedicated courses for what we are specialized in,
Right.
which is Bluetooth Low Energy, basically wireless technologies, Bluetooth Low Energy, Wi-Fi, and cellular.
So, let's just talk about your SDK
Yeah.
that goes with Zephyr.
Yeah.
What do you get with that? So they've watched this video.
Yeah.
They understand. We a lot of them would have understood Zephyr anyway. But they've gone, right. Okay. So I'm going to think about my next project. I'm going to think about choosing Nordic Semiconductor.
Yeah.
Because of this relationship they have with Zephyr.
Yeah.
This open platform, all these learning tools that you've got.
Yeah.
It seems to me like there's good support. What do I do? So what happens when I get my Nordic Semiconductor SDK
Yeah.
that is enabled with Zephyr? What happens? What's the package that I get?
Yeah.
And why, on that basis, should I come to you for that SDK?
Yeah. So what you get with the NRF Connect SDK is a rich tooling and ecosystem and educational resources. So we have, for example, created our own extension in VS Code to make the process of onboarding even simpler. So you can have the installation and the setup of the SDK taken care of inside VS Code. So let's say you're completely new to this and you want to do things very quickly. We have that extension to help you get started very quickly, and it also have the ability to both use the GUI and the CLI. So if you're a developer like to use the CLI, you can do that also from within the extension. Extensive set of tools and kind of like prototyping platforms and development kits that also kind of like accelerate the developer onboarding.
Yep.
We also talked about Dev Academy, which helps them with guided hands-on courses. So we know developers, they love to
Absolutely.
do hands-on, right?
Play and play.
Yeah, so
Right.
so that's the kind of like the way we did these courses, completely kind of like with hands-on courses, and there's also parts where you can learn about the theory that's behind these
Okay.
things.
So we're in an industry and a market now where are lots and lots of new projects starting. This whole Edge AI, this whole new market of starting new projects, starting new ideas. We're literally since 2022. This is like the world began in 2022. Post-pandemic, the world started again. So when you put this SDK together, and you partnered with Zephyr, what was, just so that they know, what was the absolutely ideal target market when you were thinking about the developers? Right, who's going to want this? What was your absolute ideal target market for that?
So basically, we wanted it to be as the enabler for developer to get the market faster.
So it's all about speed. This is all about speed.
It's about, because time to market is really critical. And the design cycles for these products, if you don't have a rich SDK, is going to be
Yep.
a nightmare, right?
Yeah.
You need to enable developers with everything that they might need in the SDK. And then the developers only have to focus on their key differentiating features.
Yeah.
Because nobody will...
The creative bit.
Yeah, nobody wants you to invest your time in doing like a driver or a message queue, something that's coming, a problem that is probably solved by other companies, or it's basically a known problem. What customers expect the product to do is to have differentiating features. And if you have an SDK that gets all these common functionalities available, that will enable developers to just focus on adding their key differentiating values. So time to market is...
All about time to market.
Yeah.
Excellent. Ali, you've done a very good
you very
introduction
much.
to your Nordic Semiconductor and your relationship and your SDK with Zephyr. Thank you
Thanks a
very
lot.
much.
Thank you.